Good morning and welcome to today's live show. Today we open up the week with some interesting signals. Are we building the structure to head higher, or are we going to confirm some divergence and have a chance to actually fall down? Now, the key thing with this early on in the video, I just wanted to mention in case people are seeing this after hours, after we're done streaming, well, we do have those daily expected moves. So we have 587.32 to the upside, and we do have 581.86 to the downside. And something about this level here is we have to really lose that in order for us to really get bearish, in order to cross down into negative territory. So if we're going to hold above that or use it as support, even crossing over this MACD, if it turns up at any time, we should say more time, right? It's buying itself more time in the market overall. We did have a reaction up from volatility, but that is still below your 5-day. And one thing the dollar is doing is reacting off of its 5-day right now. So we're paying attention to this as the market is going to open up soon. If you needed the weekly expected moves, we're going to put those up on your screen real quick for the SPY. First off, we do have 592.38 to the upside, and we have 576.80 to the downside. For the Qs, we actually have, we're going to go through all of them real quick just at the beginning of the video for people watching later. 503.93 to the upside, 500 number, very, very good. And then we do have 485.01 to the downside. For the day today, we have 498.01 to the upside and 490.93 to the downside. Once again, paying attention to this 30 minutes since it looks like it could cross this morning. Remember that we still have 30 minutes in the bar. It can react back up. But is this just going to dip down into lower prices and then curl up into positive territory? Or is this a lower high and this is some kind of A, B, C move and we end up down towards the weekly expected move? That will be interesting from the Qs. Real quick, IWM, just wanted to put that out there real quick. So it is Monday. So here you go, 230.54 to the upside, 220.76 to the downside, still holding that 5-day moving average. And then if you wanted the moves for the DIA, aka the Dow Jones, 438.50 to the upside and 426.78 to the downside. So there you go. You get a little bit of everything. We've already confirmed triple divergence here for the Dow, so watch out because momentum is weak here, but we still might need some bad news to project us lower, right? Having the divergence is great. There's weakness, but if you just fizzle out that weakness and no news comes with it, then you can turn back up over time. All right, that's key to understand. Now, I am going to try to put this over on the SPY real quick. I'm going to use the restroom before we actually fully get started today. So if anything crazy happens at the open, I might miss out for 2 minutes. But I got to go use the restroom real quick, and I will be right back. Make sure to give a like to the channel so that we can do more and more of these throughout. And gold and silver is making a crazy move. We're going to look at that here in a moment. There you go. All right, be right back. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry, coffee went right through me. All right, here we go. Opening up, notice that we're curling down. So one thing that I really think we should watch today is still the DIA, the Dow, really paying attention to what's happening here. See if this can actually lose that 5. You can see we're right on the edge of it. I think that would be good. And you see the divergence, how down that is on your MACD and RSI at the same time. Have a similar look for the SPY. A little bit different look for the Qs though, right? A little bit different here for the Qs. You do have the divergence in the nearest price action trying to curl down, but notice this might take some time. So if there's no news behind this, we might just continue the trend after reacting down to the 5-day moving average. That's something interesting we can pay attention to. Obviously, if volatility is going to turn down, then we need to pay attention to that. Remember what we were leaning towards, some kind of reaction that then turns volatility down and makes that stronger base, because we don't really have that strong of a base here. So we have the signals on the SPY, just not the signals on volatility at the same time. Tesla, look at that, finally getting a move out of this. So I think hourly is probably fine to watch here. It's probably really close to the center line. Let's see. Yeah, hourly really close to the center line. So part of the Patreon to get that lower expected move. I might check where that's at real quick. Okay, so it looks like from the open, Tesla can see about a 10% move, about a 9% move is what I would say. So heading down into this zone would make sense. Actually, heading past that zone would make sense at this point. Maybe down to make this towards this low down here. But yeah, so if this does curl down, you're looking for, if you want reversal, well, you need some kind of divergence in there to help you out. Maybe this news is going to be as simple as earnings. Who knows? We see the same divergence on the hourly as well for the SPY, but 30-minute looks pretty. So once this turns down here, we have no reason to expect upside. Right? No reason to expect upside until that turns back around, right? It's got to turn back around for that to be a bullish thing. Still in the positive trend, still holding the 5-day, so we have to pay attention if that does turn around, but this is a sign of weakness and momentum. So that 2-hour not able to cross back up just yet. Still could later on. You notice that it is extremely positive, so even if we went down to this level, well, look at the structure we would make to head higher actually from here. If we're going to keep continuing this positive trend and keep taking our time, we might see something like this start to form, right? We can tell how we would use that liquidity to really head higher would be something like that if we're going to, you know, base out and see this just as a pullback. But if that curls down too much, that daily scale really might just suffer, and the weekly scale could suffer, and that's where things really start to pile on. IWM, this was one that did confirm the divergence. This is one that we were talking about last week, holding that weekly expected move, now starting to turn down. Remember the rejections happening here. So the 2-hour able to roll probably on this bar. Everything's loading real slow. Yeah, right there. So 2-hour actually was able to curl down, which tells you, hey, a 2-hour can go into a pullback. Okay, so one level to pay attention to is going to be 223.08. Really like that level as far as something to bounce off of. If we start to lose that, then obviously we could get down towards the weekly expected move. Remember this too, we did not make a sufficient handle here to remain healthy. So we might go make that now. When you get excited, you might go make that handle right now and see if you can really starts to head higher with that. So there could still be opportunities in the bullish direction, but as we start to lose the 5, you just have to be a little bit weary of things continuing to curl down if they curl down on, say, daily charts, right? If we start to curl down on daily charts, it's not going to look pretty, and this is a pretty good move. So if you do end up by the weekly, you might have already curled down that that weekly or that daily MACD. Oh, is this just going to buy up? Are we going to be able to actually confirm this thing down? That's kind of the question going into today. Let's see. see, I need to go to this real quick. Just looking at some other stuff for just a brief moment, and then I'll be right back in the chat. Just give me a minute here. All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and Netflix. Someone bringing up Netflix. They just had that earnings. Fantastic look for earnings, right? You cannot say that that is bad in any way. This looks like a new set of positive trend, right? So if we're making some kind of random point here, well, this daily is going to reject from here, and we're just going to start to turn down, right? That's the only thing you got going for you there. For the most part, though, look at the 30-minute is way up here in positive territory. So if that would happen, that would have to be some bad news, because this is very, very positive. So this could pull back into something like 732 and then end up just curling right back up and starting to violate the trend here with those highs. So you're just looking for, if that MACD curls down, can it curl back up? If it can't curl back up, then you want to watch out if the daily scale starts to roll over here, because that could be some kind of trap at this point. Nvidia making another upward move, which is a little bit impressive, but we were looking for that 30-minute. Can that 30-minute curl up? Is this some kind of cup and handle, right? That's what we're looking for in this area. We're seeing if that can turn up into positive territory. If it creates some kind of little divergence here, well, then that will be a pretty good trap setup there. As we look forward, we just pay attention to the dollar trying to base out by the 5, and then we'll look at the PCC as it opens up. Right now, volatility still turned up into positive territory for the 30-minute chart. Not for the bigger ones, right? Not for even a 2-hour. 2-hour is still very, very deep here. This is why I think we need to curl down and at least confirm this as a strong base. TLT, we do have the weekly expected moves for TLT down in the description for the Patreon, but we just noticed that this is heading to lower levels, creating a little 30-minute here. We'll see, you know, we're just getting a big gap, so this might just be a divergence on the 2-hour to pay attention to. Now, that is pointing straight down, right? That is pointing straight down. So does that tell me, oh yeah, let me take something because there's going to be divergence? No, it doesn't tell you that. When it tells you that this is divergence is when that actually confirms. So you need this to turn back up, start to see some green bars on the histogram. Then you have the chance to actually see that daily go up into positive territory again. It's going to be an interesting day. Thoughts on Apple? Apple, looking over at that real quick. Well, Apple, you got to see if this is some kind of double top up here. The reason you have to see if this is a double top for the shorter time frames, it could be like a quadruple top at this point, or triple top or something. But the 2-hour is going to be important here. If this can roll over, then that's confirming divergence. Now, one thing about this divergence, if it does confirm, just notice how far away you are from the center line. So be open to the fact that if this curls back up, you should expect positivity, right? We should expect positivity in that, because if that's curling up into positive territory and it doesn't lose some drastic number, right? It just goes down like this and curls back up. What's the most likely thing when that does happen? Well, test this high, go make a new one, right? Test the previous high, make a new one. That could happen here for Apple, right? We can still buy more time. It is still in that bullish trend. Yeah, that does happen. Happens sometimes, Martin. Go with usually the bigger signals, the one that I like to go with. As of right now, I'm just seeing the 2-hour pullback. We were pointing out the 30-minute divergences up here at this level, right? We saw how drastic that was on the RSI and said that can lead to a bigger pullback. Looks like that's what's happening now, but sometimes, you know, these small caps do lead the market, so this will be interesting to see how far down this really wants to go. I haven't made a daily expected move or anything like that for this, but we'll see if that leads into anything. Something I want to pay attention to early on is I'm going to open up the housing sector, because there is a major reversal signal for the housing sector. If you see the divergence, it's there as well. Okay, so we have a divergence here as well for the 30-minute for the housing sector, which means not the best things for home builders, for the real estate market. It really doesn't. So this will be interesting, but nothing has confirmed yet. So I want to see how that opens up in just a little bit. A little hint I can probably get is nail, but this has 3 times leverage, so I don't like to do analysis on it, but you're seeing that curl way down. You see that big drop. So that's what I'm looking for to see if that can produce over in the housing sector, HGX. Gold and silver seeing rapid moves right now. Rapid moves, I'm pretty sure they're getting rid of divergences. So you're just seeing a flight to gold, a flight to silver, kind of coming flat up here on the RSI, but just booming at this moment. So Bitcoin starting to see this drop down. Now remember this about Bitcoin in this area, flat divergence at the top, but no divergence in the RSI. One thing to note about Bitcoin on the 2-hour is this, okay? This is something I wanted to pay attention to early on. Bitcoin has a triple divergence on the 2-hour, very, very close to the center line. What does that tell me? That tells me that this daily scale has a good chance to rotate down. And so if we're gonna break down here, what you want if you wanna be bullish is to hold up in this zone, right? Around 63.2K and then curl back up. Okay, you want this to be kind of short-lived. You want this to get by the center line and curl back up, just like we did right here. We went up for a good move, right? Boom. Saw some basing out signals, boom to the upside. Saw some basing out signals, boom to the upside. And you'll notice what? We curled up into positive territory. We take out the high, we go make a new one. So that 2-hour is suggesting some bad things, right? It's suggesting that this 4-hour probably rejected. Let's see. Yeah, 4-hour rejecting multiple times now too. So that is leading me to believe that the daily does have a good shot to turn down for the daily chart. Exactly, Jackal. That's kind of how we think about it, right? Volatility is there. You notice that this level of volatility is coming back in. We haven't, like, it's showing that the reversal signals are something to pay attention to on these short little time frames, right? But it's also stating we need some bad news, right? In order for that to just boom, we need some bad news. It doesn't have that strong of a base. Nvidia's ripping, keeping the QQQ higher. It is, and that's why we were looking at the 30-minute, right? The first thing we needed to pay attention to for Nvidia was, is it curling up into positive territory? Now, the good part about this is we do have a weekly expected move. So we have a few things we can react to. If we start to reject here, we have divergence, but we also have a measured move that can take us to a weekly expected move this week, right? As we pull that up, is that possible? Yes, this playing out is definitely possible with the weekly expected moves, and I think it would gravitate you directly towards it. So you're looking for something like 144, 146, somewhere in there. If this can remain, that's the key thing. It's like, it's kind of like this, when you really zoom out on things too, well, you're like, okay, so my upside is this, but potential for a bigger pullback is also here as well, a corrective move, if not some kind of crash with how volatility is still behaving. So you want to be a little cautious because we did confirm that, and now we're taking it away. Are we going to head higher, go to that point, and then turn back down, see something there? That's just some kind of big trap. So we'll pay attention to it, but for the most part, we just want to be like, okay, this is maybe the upside, but what is the downside here? Well, for the week, it might be just a simple move like this. When you look at the state of, hey, that's a big divergence. Hey, the market's looking very toppy. Looks like we're just building liquidity for something at a top. Well, that could shoot down at some point. So I just want to be careful with that. And the way you can look at it too is just looking at the daily top Bollinger. Where's the bottom of the Bollinger? Way down here. Okay, way down here. So if I get really, really bullish right here saying, yeah, this is a breakout, okay, that's fine. But at the same time, I want to be like, okay, I need to realize where this is at, what this little structure looks like in here, the fact that there's 2-hour divergence, all of that leads me to go, is this like not a risky play to the upside, or is it? It is. The not risky play to the upside was here. The not risky play to the upside was here. The not risky upside play was here, right? This one is risky, just like this was risky with 2-hour divergence, just like this was risky up here. So, yes, it is holding the market up higher. The way that the market goes higher is if other stocks start to participate. Okay, you're looking at maybe Microsoft, right? That needs to come back. See how far down we've come from that. You need Google. Google's still holding at slightly lower prices, right? From the highs up. Okay, not slightly. Okay, pretty low prices. Okay, so are we building structure here, really? Like, are we doing this to really make a move higher and we're just going to see stocks explode? Or is this already starting something awful and just going to continue something awful? So you need other stocks to participate or else this is really going to suffer. It's Apple and Nvidia are holding the market up. Google, even though it's positive, it's not holding the market up. Look at this. It's not really holding the market up. It's Apple and Nvidia that are making the market remain at those all-time highs. AMC flipping back to the positive side, trying to see some positivity. Good signals there. Tesla building back. Tesla building back. It's a good thing. I just said, you know, Tesla's not going to be the easiest thing to trade, guys. It's just not. The signals here are not going to be like very, very simple in my opinion. I just do not see a clear-cut play there for something like Tesla. And HGX did open up, did that cross down on the 30-minute. That's what we need to be paying attention to. It has not yet. You saw a pretty good gap down, which makes sense with how Home Builders Nail was performing. But the reason we're paying attention to this is because now maybe you do have that structure. I think there's waviness in this 2 hour, so it might be better on a 4 hour chart. But the 2 hour, if this MACD would pop up, you'll probably notice how that's very down. And you'll even see it in the RSI right here. It's down. So that's something to pay attention to. I believe the 4 hour might be clearer here. I think the 4 hour would be, yeah, 4 hour much more clear. If the 4 hour turns down here, you notice that these divergences we've made multiple point divergence. The RSI has held it the entire time, right? You see how this point holds it and comes down. This point comes down just a tiny, tiny bit, if not a little flat. And then if we would reject here, well, now you're not even getting overbought. So I'd be very cautious with the market this week, especially when you're getting a little 30-minute signal that could just be the tip of the iceberg, right? So housing sector looks like something is going to happen. What the heck is going to happen? I did notice a reaction from oil too. Now, if you didn't know, was it Netanyahu or someone high up in Israel actually had their wife have an assassination attempt on them, and the response was, once you start to come for my family, that changes the whole game pretty much. So I think that we actually have to be on our toes for Israel and them to react in some way after that did happen. But I need to look more into it, by the way, so if there's more news about it, I will have to read a little bit about that. But you're noticing that oil did see a jump here. Did oil have divergence? That's going to be the big question. And it did. So oil did have the divergence on the MACD. It did have it on the RSI at the same time. Tells you, hey, now the 4 hour, is it on the 4 hour too? Man, things are slow. All right, it's on the 4 hour as well, slightly. Not necessarily there for the RSI. So turning up the daily might be a little bit tougher here. Turning up the daily might be just a little bit tougher. My goodness, I am sorry it's taking, but if the daily does turn up, look where it is. It's really close to the center line. So maybe we have to take these basing out signals into consideration. Oil is giving the basing out signal on the 2 hour, saying the 4 hour can bounce. Now you don't have a 4 hour divergence, so that could just be some kind of bounce that leads to a drop later on. But for now, the 2 hour is saying, hey, I got a good shot to go positive here for oil. What if Israel attacks their oil? That would be bad for the entire world, to be honest. Volatility of volatility, trying to see some kind of bounce there as well. No reversal signals from it either. This is why we need to pay attention if this is really trying to base out, because at this moment you're seeing a lot of behavior like this. Like we might go retest a breakdown area from volatility. SPY not necessarily seeing big selling come in. We haven't lost the 5, so this isn't even something to really worry about just yet. But it is an early signal of, hey, if something bad happens right now, this could be the tip of the iceberg. Just making sure nothing's happening with the Israel stuff right now. Put this on the housing. Ooh, housing sector is dropping. If you really look at this, the housing sector is dropping right now, guys. These are early signals that state, hey, this is when you need to pay attention, because this is showing divergence that can really start to turn over bigger time frames, and the housing sector is following that right now. And the dollar is starting to base out at that 5. So we could be seeing a turnaround come by the end of the day if this can hold at lower levels. Obviously, we always have the opportunity in this bullish trend to turn back up into positive territory, so we need to see this thing go negative. Wow. Yes, it did happen in 2007. That was actually what most people don't know, so thank you for bringing it up, Martin. One of the things that people don't realize was one of the things that actually tipped 2007 over was the major move from oil. Yeah. Yeah, TLT, it's just too risky to buy just yet. You need to see some kind of reversal signal, right? We need a 2-hour divergence is what you're looking for here. But you're noticing that's turning way, way down. So am I going to think about getting this at some point? No, not yet, right? I'm going to be out of this, and I'm just going, okay, let me just wait. I was kind of waiting for a 2-hour divergence, tried to take something here, not an option play, right? Trying to find that point for my investment, then start to see how we reject off of that 50, get right back out. Now I'm looking for that next basing out signal, because if we make a dramatic divergence, I'd be happy with that. Not necessarily able to tell you to sell or wait. It's more just, do you believe rates are going to come down for some reason? Which means pretty much like, do you believe we're going to go into something that is going to cause us to have to react really fast and kind of turn down those rates, right? Get some big rate cuts. So for the most part, I'd be like, hey, if this thing keeps turning down, that's really bad, right? The daily is still pretty much in a downward mode, right, below that center line. So you're looking for signals to turn that around. And it doesn't mean that like doing anything. It just depends if it's an option play, if it's an investment play. See, if it's an investment play, then you're like, oh, I'm down 8%. Okay, let me just get out of that. And if it turns around, the next play will be a good one. But options are a little bit different. So options, I like to react very, very quickly when I start to see bad things. So since this bar forward, we really had to say, hey, there's no reason for upside. But that's all I can really state about it. Let me go find it. I will tell you what, I will find you the source for that when I'm not on stream, because it's hard for me to like look in real time. But someone else reported it, and then they brought up the website, so I'll go bring up the website. Just one of the people that I pay attention to was able to post that, and I saw it, so I just got to find that real quick. But yeah, there was some kind of silent update, right? They just didn't tell people they were updating, and then it ended up being somewhere around 6%. So I will look at that for you, and if I can find it, I'll bring it up next stream, or I'll give the source in the video tonight. But thank you for asking. I'll write it in my notes. I have it right here. All right, that is there. Thank you for asking, Lee. TLT will turn could be a great hold next year. And that's true. I think you're just waiting. I mean, it just depends on if you're option or if you're investing. If you're investing and you're anywhere down and you're anywhere below, like what? Anywhere below $100 or somewhere towards 82.50. 82.50 is like the best price point you can get pretty much for TLT. And even if it goes past that, you know, it's like, okay, most likely I'm having a good, unless we're seeing this collapse, which is why you react, right? You don't really want to be like, oh, the daily's crossing way down, the weekly's starting to cross way down, and there might be even a little bit of no, there's no real divergence here, but the weekly's starting to turn down. Is this a double top in some way? Okay, then I don't necessarily want to be in this for the long term. That's all I would say. Well, they already made the mistake. Inflation's going to come back in regardless now that they've cut rates. It was kind of one of the biggest. It's like they cut rates, and then 2 weeks later, we see all the Israel-Iran stuff start to pick up, and that's when oil went nuts during those 2 weeks leading up to that. Thankfully, Israel said they are not going to attack that, but now that there was an attack on his wife, things might be a little bit different now. We'll see. AMC currently up 1%. I still wouldn't say, hey, this is like absolutely insane yet, right? We need to get past 471. It's a good sign. It's a good sign to start out the week. But overall, you need to get through that 471 price point. Well, and inflation going, like the reason that it's also a big mistake was because of the hurricanes, right? The hurricanes made it really, really. They weren't trying to, they attacked his residence. I mean, is she at his residence? Like, yeah, so what I was quoting was more what he said afterward, which is you attacked my family or something like that. But like either way, there was an attack on him, people close to him, so I don't see. We're gonna nitpick the exact quote. Okay, sounds good. We've confirmed. Can we lose something here? Did the Qs? Qs have not, right? Qs were able to hold up so far. not even been there though. What's it gonna do? Confirm down and confirm right back up. Dollar's still based now, given that higher percentage now, trying to retest those highs from, what was that, last night or this morning? PCC actually down towards 0.8, so we're actually more towards the call side here. That can be worrisome. Key is still seeing that upward move, so most likely Nvidia is seeing that breakout moment. All right, awesome. AMD, I actually wonder what's happening with that too. Because this was like the wonkiest little rejection divergence you've ever seen. Wonder if that's going to take back the 5 soon. We'll see. Meta might be forming, well, this is the only divergence that you can look for Meta. Remember, we said we were going to pay attention to Meta because if this is going to form divergence here, then we might buy ourselves some more time into the end of the week. Maybe this leaks right up into the election. DIA is confirming down and pointing down. See if we can lose the 5 on that for the Dow. And Apple starting to curl down. Okay, so now we got to just be on our toes. The weakness is here. Is selling going to pile on? Is bad news going to come out? That's what we have to see. God dang, things are loading so damn slow. I'm just going to leave it on the SPY. While I look through, try to find that data real quick. This is why I should like screenshot things. All right, I'm screenshotting things from now on. This is gonna annoy me all day. Housing sector trying to get a wick. This is going to have to do something interesting to buy more time. This will really have to do something interesting. I mean, yeah, obviously it's still holding in a pattern. That's fine. Like, right, we wanted to pay attention if this was controlled. It is controlled. So pay attention to if that does curl back up, right? Curls up. Then we get 2 hour to take over for a moment. But I think that this would need more of a pullback in order to head higher. If we're gonna buy more time, I'd like us to do something like that. Lose the 5 briefly, come back into it, then we get to buy some more space here. Ooh, Dow not liking life right now, my goodness. Dow's curling down and just continuing to curl down. Dow giving you the 2 hour divergence as well. So weirdly enough, on the Dow, you have to almost pay attention to the daily now. See if that daily can roll over in the next couple of days. Still holding the 5 though. We're really close to the center line, still positive trend. IWM really suffering here. SPY holding up pretty good. AMC was up 1%, now only up 0.23. GameStop down 1.46. Nvidia still booming as of right now. You just really don't want to reject on the 30-minute here because that's a steep divergence. Just a sliver of bad news might make things really start to teeter over. All right, PCC now down to 0.79, just real quick, PCC down to 0.79, that's where we start to pay attention. At the same time, we do have the dollar up, and currently the SPY is down a little bit, but mostly flat. The Qs are up, okay? So this still could be that insider selling come on. It just tells us more of a trap is forming, right? We already know we're in a weekly trap, so if that can continue, this is just going to build more and more and more of a trap. The higher this goes up, the more terrible the downfall is going to be in this push. I genuinely believe that. We just got to see if it plays out, but for the most part, it's like we keep going up while the dollar continues to go up. Whenever we've seen that, we've seen some crazy reactions on this channel, right? We've called it out and seen it live where the SPY was down, I think, what was it down? It was down like 8 points or something like that. I think at the time it was down almost like 2%. We were like, man, this is weird. You have a major amount of rigged behavior. I think it was around May 30th, the video May 30th. If you go click on those live videos, that's what we were talking about. We were like, there's some major trap behavior. The same behavior is here, it's just more extended. So that really worries me because the last time we saw it, it made that eight point move down, something like that. In the last, I think it was 30 minutes. In the last 30 minutes, it went from 8 points down to like 2 points up or 3 points up. And so that's very interesting that we're holding this behavior for a long, long time. We can see if volatility is going across here, then we would expect positivity, right? We would expect positivity. But last time it curled over, we really didn't see too much positivity. So, tells you things are a little bit slow here. Raja, thank you so much for subscribing. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That's when the market will crash. Nvidia has some resistance points before reaching the weekly range. Not necessarily. You're kind of in no man's land a little bit past these levels, right? You're kind of up towards this high, so you're kind of in no man's land, which means whole numbers and things like that. Yeah, that's where like you can also maybe go look at the max pay, kind of see where the options market has this thing at for the week, right? So we can do that real quick just to see if there's a level for a call wall, right? This is where if you're in no man's land, you can go look at a call wall. right? So we could look at that real quick. So it looks like 150, right? So all the way up towards 150, but you also do have 145. I would really be paying attention to 145. You're already past 140, so 145 would be probably the next level to look for if we're going to head up from here. And if you get the daily or the weekly expected moves for this, 145, it's somewhere in that area. So that's all something to pay attention to, but for the most part, it says, hey, 145 is a key level, 150 is a key level for this week, according to Max Payne. And you do have about 110,000 contracts at 150, so very interesting. But yeah, so 145, 150. I think 145 is going to be the most key level. Yeah, but as you go into unexpected areas, right, or untraveled territory, right, kind of like just going up into the unknown, there's not really resistances, so that's why you kind of can look at the Max Payne data, look where those people are positioned at, you can look at order flow and all those kinds of things, and see if this thing starts to hit 145, then you go, okay, that's a resistance level, 150 is the next one, but 145 is the strong one. Still holding up decently well. See, this is what I'm saying, it's relatively controlled. If we remain controlled for the entire day, that would be plenty to base you out, make another move higher, especially if we get that reaction off of the 5. See if these guys have any news for us, because I just want to see if any bad news. Obviously, this is starting to turn back up, so we weren't seeing that big downward push. Looks like nothing really. Some King Charles stuff. Look at the futures, pretty solid here. Oh yeah, the Qs are trying to break out too. So the Q is not only doing this, but they're trying to break out here. So turning right back around. Ooh, very good sign for the Qs there. So Nvidia must be pushing. Something's pushing this. Some CI seeing some upside there. AMD, was that basing out? Did it give it? Just not a big move there. You'd expect something a little bit bigger, wouldn't you? And the dollar ticking up with that as well. So we're just building more of a trap. Cool. Volatility did turn down, or well, is about to turn down. We'll see if that turns down in the next 22 minutes on this bar. I thought it would have a red bar there for sure by now. And it makes sense for IWM to head down. We do have the yields heading higher. Just trying to figure out which way things are going here. All right, what's going on? Google's starting to break out just a little bit here. Google, this might be better on an hourly. I would probably say an hourly looks better here. Yeah, hourly turn up there. So that's a good little handle too. That's a pretty good, that's actually not a little handle. That's a pretty deep one. So if that curls up, hey, it can do what? It can test the high, go make a new one. It is a little bit into negative territory, but mainly not enough. I think you have a good shot to now test the high and go make a new one. We do have weekly expected moves for Google over in Patreon. Okay, link down there, but let me go look for that. Yeah, okay, an hourly divergence makes a lot of sense here. So an hourly divergence makes a lot of sense if we do see some kind of breakout above this high and then start to turn back down. Just watch out. That could be a pretty good trap there. If not, then you're probably going to see something crazy. What the heck was I just looking at? Ooh, Palantir turning up on a 2-hour. Remember, Palantir did not have the best 2-hour reversal signal, I believe. Yeah, it didn't have it. Palantir actually saying, hey, I want to try to make a move higher. If that can happen, we do have a weekly expected move for that as well. Looks like it could see about a 0.5%, maybe like, or no, sorry. It can see about a 5% move to the upside. Where would 5% get you from right here? Yeah, something like a 5% move would be nice here. But the main thing we were looking for here is an actual reversal signal. Remember, this didn't have it. That's kind of why we were like, Palantir could just base out and turn right back up. Maybe you could do something like this, right, to turn back up. But for now, if that curls up, hey, test the high, maybe go make a new one. So that still has an hour and 10 minutes to post, though. So if the opposite starts to happen, right? If the 30 minutes starts to turn down because it's relatively just holding in this plane, well then if that turns down, you'd say, ooh, not the best sign, right? This could be some kind of weird ABC move. All right, Qs look like they were gonna break out. They are breaking out. I have a little Harry Potter music in my head today. We bought Hogwarts because my niece and nephew came over, so we bought Hogwarts. My wife's obsessed. It's pretty funny. Wow, IWM almost down 1% now. That's kind of wild. That's a little much, I feel like, but hey. All right, let me look at the chat again. Nvidia's simple because Nvidia, you're paying attention to the 30-minute, right? If that curls up, you'd expect more positivity. Now that happened like at the same time, right? You didn't really, it would have been nicer to dip just a little bit lower, right? And then see some kind of little bar that then gets the follow through after, but you just see a follow through. That's why I don't normally swing on a 30-minute. But from this, I'm looking like, okay, the one thing I got to pay attention to here is that, right? This. If that curls down, bad things. But for now, things look pretty good, and this could head up, but the risk to reward here just isn't there for me to take a play. Yeah, it just isn't there for me to take a play. No gracias. My shorts are not toast, they are cotton. The SPY expected move right here on your charts. Yep. You can get those in every single video, pretty much every single Sunday. You should tune in to get these weeklies. Or you can always look at the beginning of the video. Oh, sorry, Doug. I'm just kind of clicking over on stuff, trying to look at some news or anything. But isn't there a double bottom on the 24-hour chart, RSI, and also the 4-hour chart double bottom? Oh, shoot. I didn't see what you were talking about. I might have missed it. I love that Pomeranian typed it twice. He's like, I need a reaction. That's funny. Energy sector, well, we can take a look at it for the most part, but you could say some stuff's going on here, right? 30-minute divergence, so you'd look for maybe a 2-hour to curl up. So the last time a 2-hour curled up is a solid move. So now you seem like you actually have some structure here too, right? We kind of have something interesting going on here. I know these lines are really freaking thick, but for the most part, you see this downward. It's relative. There's some big gaps, but they're starting to slow down. You notice that. So we'll see if that can break through. But for the most part, that 30 minutes saying, hey, the 2 hours got a good chance to curl up, but is it actually curling up, right? Does it actually curl up? That's the thing. So we'll have to see if that actually happens. Sometimes I mention when I get into a trade. Like I said, this channel is more about helping people learn how to utilize things. Like Nvidia, right? In the video last night, it was, hey, if the 30-minute crosses up, then we're going to see probably a new all-time high. There you go. But is that a good trade? That's the thing, right? That's the other thing to talk about. Is this like a really, really good trade? It could be, but it's just like, you know, if we really look at it, is it a good trade? Is the risk to reward really there? Or is this just going to break out for a couple of days and then get people euphoric on it, and then we see something bad happen, right? We even have still holding a reversal signal here with this triple divergence. So we still got to see if this can play out for the rest of the day. We know if this is going to go up, how high up it can go, because we have the options data that we calculate. But yeah, sometimes I've announced it. I mean, one of the ones that we announced was Amazon, right? Amazon, we announced this down in here. Great trade setup. This was posted to Patreon. Boom, to the upside, right? This was one of the best ones that I've taken over the last couple of, I guess, few weeks. And then we had the Nvidia plays back in the day, right? We had, I think it was, I don't know if it was that low. I know it was this one. This was definitely our best Nvidia play recently. Right there, it took you out of a month, or yeah, out of a monthly expected move actually, and then you see a major divergence to the upside. Great play there. And then to the other side, we did see these topping out. We see the triple divergence for the 30-minute. Take a chance. Has a 2-hour, I believe, as well. Like a tiny 2-hour one. Yeah, no, it didn't. 2-hour. It was just a 30-minute one. 2-hour rejections, but not the best rejection ones. But that was the one to the downside. Then down here, we kind of had another one actually down here, I believe, which was a major 30-minute divergence as well. So this one here, great little divergence there, took you outside of a monthly, boom to the upside. So we've done some really good plays actually. Now we're just seeing kind of the opposite side. So we're kind of looking like, you know, we look more like this than we do like this. So why would I be bullish? We look more like this than we do like this. So why would I be bullish? You know what I mean? It doesn't mean I'm like, oh, I'm going to take $100,000 in shorts or something. No, I'm going to build a short position. That's what I like to do. I like to build a short position. SPY looks like this. That is not a good look. It does not look like this, where we made the divergence, right? It does not look like this down here where we made the divergence and we said, hey, this is going to maybe be the move that goes to all-time highs. If you can take this out, you're going to go there. All right, boom, we take it out. Oh, we're there. That's not, this doesn't look like this, right? It looks more like this. Like, look at this. Loop down, funky, 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 drop. Loop down, funky, funky, funky. Do we funky a little bit more? Do we go to funky town a little bit more? And then we drop? Do we get real funky with it? Boom. No? Nobody into it? Okay. But that's all you have to do. You really look at it very simply and you just go, hey, does this look like a good opportunity or a bad opportunity? It looks like a bad one right now. I'm not saying it has to go down. I'm just saying I'm not going to take a play if it looks like this to the upside. I'm going to build a short position. You able to look at DJT? Yeah, let's go check that out real quick. See, we're just thinking simply here. Oh, that's SH. That's SJT. You got to get to. Okay, we were all, well, you're mainly looking for, see the 30-minute here when it gets choppy. You look for those hourlies. Look at the hourly. If that hourly can confirm up, right, then that's going to take you pretty much to testing that high at that point. So you know this is most likely going to higher prices. And where did you react to? Remember what we said with DJT last week was, where are you going to react to with a big move? Well, a lot of the time you'll react to the 5. You react to the 5. You kind of build up to that 5. You're trying to hold up at higher levels in some way. If that hourly curls up, test the high, go make a new one. So if I was trading DJT this week, I don't have any trades in this right now, but if I was trading DJT this week, I would have made a range, right? This probably has a good amount of implied volatility in it. So therefore the range can be pretty big. Maybe it's up towards 37.75, right? 37.50, somewhere up in there. You do something like that, and then people go, okay, now it has to go higher, and then you see the divergence pop up. So the hourly looks pretty good to pay attention to for DJT. You're seeing 2 of the swing trade signals confirm right now, just not the third one. Do I believe it'll drop now? I think it has a good opportunity to drop now. If this is a trap setup and we're actually going to see that selling come into the market that I think is happening, people flying over into cash, I'm just going to say right here would be a good trap, because you confirm up. You get even technical people saying, hey, this can go up. Like me, I would say, hey, this has a good opportunity now to go to a weekly expected move, but is exactly what you need to pay attention to. When we say but, if this doesn't do that, then that means it could do this. And if this curls down, that is a very steep divergence. You're holding the triple divergence on the RSI. You're not necessarily holding it on the MACD, but you do have it right there. So this is where it's good to be a flip-flopper. Builders is getting smacked. I would personally look for basing out signals, because this 30-minute can lead to this 2-hour crossing, and that can be more of a pullback. You're not necessarily saying this is over. What I'd really be looking for is this level down here, right? We got excited. So if this is just going to be a pullback, which is kind of suggested by the 2-hour, because it's really high up into positive territory, you can see something like this, then you get down in that liquidity and curl back up. So that's something I'll watch. But if we start to curl over a 4-hour, if we start to curl over daily, then that's going to be a little bit more troublesome. Right, if you go too deep here, you remain at lower levels for too long, you can cross this over, and that is a big divergence across the way, and you're kind of holding divergence all the way across. I like to take my positions about 4 weeks out in these type of scenarios. So I started building last week, so I probably got 3 weeks, yeah, about 3 weeks left. I have, let's see, I have November 22nd. It's just building, building. And if what we experience is just going to be a pullback, and I've built that up, I've cost averaged in a little bit, well then we pull back, it might just break even. And if I see something turning up on a bigger time frame, right, then I'll pay attention to it. But for now, you have the volatility trying to turn down on a 30-minute, right? Trying to turn down. So just pay attention, because this is trying to turn, it hasn't yet though for volatility. So watch out, because the SPY might be doing something sneaky here. We'll see. It still has to cross through to see something crazy. Got to get through that 581.86 to the downside. Kalani says, bye-bye, SPY. Yeah, well, if Nvidia is going to be a trap, it's the perfect thing to do it, right? Get just barely above the previous one, get barely above this one right here, and then they can start to print new all-time high. People buy in the morning, and then you got to watch out towards the end of the day. But watch if this starts to roll. That is a sign of weakness. It needs some big bad news behind it to really fall, though, guys, in my opinion. Right? We need some kind of news behind it, or else that's just going to be a pullback in some way on the 2-hour. IWM steady downfall. Ooh, 1.10. So we're already hitting that level of 223.08. So the good thing here is this is a fill of a gap. So now you can see, are we going to turn up or are we going to reject back down? I think if this 30-minute curls up, that will be enough to get you into this liquidity. Watch if that reverses really quickly. But if that does turn up, you have the opportunity to, well, test those previous levels, maybe go a little bit higher. But for now, you seem to be curling over some bigger time frames. The 2 hour obviously has already curled down on this bar right here. Come on, MACD. Jesus, why is it so slow today? I'm about to go reset my internet. But so you have to say, am I just in a 2 hour pullback still? That's what you'd want to look for. But if this starts to roll over bigger time frames, like the 4 hour, well, we have all these highs in here, and that's holding pretty flat, if not all the way down to this point. And you are holding this divergence point right here. You have divergence across. You probably have daily divergence at this point. So just watch, this 4 hour turning down can mean a significant thing. And 4 hour was what we were paying attention to for the SPY as well. So really, it's like if I'm patient and I just wait and see a 4 hour turn down, if I see the 4 hour turn down for the Qs, then that's not a good sign. And we've already gotten that confirmation. And at this point, I'm sure everyone and their mom are drawing, you know, everything like this, right? You know, we've drawn it a couple times. I just like to leave it off so it's pretty clear here. But I'm sure everyone and their mom are drawing that and saying, oh, this is going to fall down. And these do play out pretty well, good percentage of the time. So you are more probable to break the wedge to the downside. So let's do SMCI, and then I'll go look at Boeing. Okay, guys? Sorry about that. I was just trying to look at a bunch of stuff today. SMCI, one thing was if the 2 hour curls back up, because I noticed the 30-minute was curling up today. You notice the 30-minute was curling up today. The big thing here is, though, look how you're just holding at these levels. This could just be some kind of big flag, but the 30-minute is curling up into positive territory, trying to. And so you would say, hey, that might want to test this level, if not go a little higher. Okay, that's what you would say with the 30-minute, but it's a little wonky there. The 2 hour curling up would be a lot better because you do have 2 hour divergence here that could lead to a daily scale turning down. And if you really notice the daily scale, what are you doing? Well, you're building up. You had divergence, right? You had divergence. You're building up. You're trying to cross through. If the daily turns down here, it's going to mean bad things for SMCI if the daily turns down here. So you don't necessarily want that to happen. Boeing, this one here, daily divergence across all the lows, looking for that to bounce at some time. I still think that the real opportunity is on the weekly scale. Look at that divergence for Boeing on the weekly scale. So Boeing, I'd be looking for a weekly divergence and then say, okay, what are we going to do? Well, maybe we go up, and if we can get past this, maybe we actually make a big move, right? That can take a lot of time. Maybe we end up towards 260, towards 255 at some point. I would say probably somewhere around this level right here would be most likely a good level to look for. Something like 243. But you want to just pay attention to where there's liquidity. So you probably want to look a little before that. So right above the 200 is where you can experience a pullback. But you see the weekly. And if that confirmed, that is good divergence there. So that can turn some stuff up, right? We can start to maybe turn up monthly charts and things like that. I don't know if that's turned up, but yeah. Mara seeing some downturn here. Bitcoin showing the 2 hour divergence. Weekly crossed up though for Bitcoin, so unless that curls back down, we should see this be able to turn back around. This just says, hey, we might go into a daily pullback down to 63,000. VIX is dropping, so VIX curling down on the 30-minute is what we want to pay attention to, right? We want to see if that can curl down on the 30-minute. That has not happened yet. So when you look, you're going, okay, that hasn't happened yet. That could reject right now. Right, you have that gap support coming in. So we'll see if that can turn down. If it doesn't, just starts to take off, well, that makes sense because the SPY's confirming divergence here. We got to look for bigger time frames to roll down. Insiders are selling Mara. They see weakness in Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin's going to go through some struggle for a moment here. We'll see if it can hold up in our buy zone. But if not, then that 2 hour divergence was really helping us out. Okay, this is one you got to pay close attention to. Bank of America, 30-minute triple divergence, curled it down. Looking at the 2 hour, we see no real reversal signal here, just a turning down, but a good positive move. This can hold up here. This can go a little bit deeper and probably still hold up into positive territory. We'll see if that can really just base out and turn up at any time. So if this is going to drop all of a sudden, well, then that's going to need some news, because you don't necessarily have even momentum signals saying like, hey, there's big weakness here. You're not really seeing that. You're just seeing this try to curl down and maybe get some buyers turn back above that 5. But if you do experience something bad, then obviously that's a different story, right? You can just plummet. You are turned down. So no reason for positivity on Bitcoin ever since right here, 42.71. If that can turn back around, that's kind of what we're looking for. 30-minute, are we creating a divergence? Not necessarily, but we are hitting some key levels. See if you can bounce from there. Curl up on a 30-minute. Not guaranteed to test the high, go make a new one, right? Never really are, but the probability is not really there. It's a little bit lower, so you can make a lower high actually on the 30-minute, do something like that and just curl right back down. All right, now we're starting to see things turn down a little bit. How's the Dow looking? Pretty bad, to be honest. Dow is not looking good. This is where you want to hold up. You want to hold above that 5, but this is a very bad look for the Dow. This is actually, this right here, this first divergence is what I posted. We know we always state in those posts, make sure you're managing the trade if you have to, right? A 15-minute curl up here can make you manage a trade on the 30-minute. All right, that's what we talk about in the course. Those are 90% off through November, so make sure you get those. But for the most part, 30-minute divergence all throughout here. Okay, triple divergence, really close to the center line. This is when you want to pay attention. Now, you always have the opportunity for that next move up, especially as you're above the 5, okay? So you notice the 5 gets tagged up. 5, we go towards it, up. 5, we're tagging it now. So can we curl down bigger time frames? 2 hours most likely curled down here. And you have a divergence, I believe, on Dow Jones. Let me see. Yeah, you have a little divergence right here. You see that? You see that? That goes, uh-oh, that can turn down a daily chart. If the daily chart does turn down, you're holding multiple point divergence here. Not necessarily the best on the MACD. Very, very, very flat here on the MACD. But on the RSI, you have multiple points that's just going boom, boom, boom. So you have divergence all across this. That just tells you, hey, this is going to need some kind of pullback, possibly down to 42.3, okay? I don't like the look of it. If you look risk to reward, just look at the Bollinger Bands on the daily scale. Is this a great play? Not necessarily. It can be if it really wants to do this for some time, right? Do this for some time, turn back up, awesome. But as of right now, the risk is going all the way down like this, going down to 41.6K. The reward is maybe going up to 43.4K. That's like nothing to me. IWM, this is starting to pile on. Watch for if those dailies start to rotate back down, because IWM, once again, we are showing a divergence point here, a divergence point here. Is this a good risk to reward? No, it's not. The risk is going all the way down to 214. The reward was possibly 227. Now, if this wants to base out, then you're going to have some space between you and that Bollinger Band, and then that can react up, and then that Bollinger Band can maybe travel up towards a weekly expected move. So the reward here could be a little bit better soon. I just still don't think it's there right now. Maybe if this 2 hour can curl back up, it's a different story. But yeah, NF, I think BA is just that that weekly divergence I really like, as from like maybe an investment standpoint. I don't think it's necessarily the absolute best for an option play unless you can take really long out expiration. Why is IWM dropping today? Well, if you look, IWM a lot of the time will react heavily towards yields. So there was a time where I remember us talking about a fishy day where IWM and yields were going up at the same time, and then the next day IWM had a big drop. That was a long time ago. But for the most part here, if the 10-year yield goes up, well, small cap stocks rely heavily on debt, right? So if they rely heavily on debt, then they don't like interest rates getting worse, right? You just think that way. It's like if they want to pay back their debt and things like that, well, if interest rates get worse, then it's harder to get more debt. It's harder to do those type of things. Yeah, we're trying to keep it kind of chill today, just see which direction the market wants to go. But thank you for saying that, metal to gold. I bet you're liking gold a little bit right now, aren't you? Where's shoot. Where's our silver guy? God dang it, I forgot his name. There's usually like 2 or 3 people that come in, they're like, I buy silver, buy the hard asset. Yeah, it's going to have a big move. It has a ton of implied volatility, almost 80% for this week. That's why this is so fishy. That's why I still don't think this is a good, like, personally, my own belief with earnings, especially if a stock looks like this, is I'm not going to do anything with it because this is just very strange behavior. Loving those precious metals? I bet you are. You're probably really liking them now. Gold, if you look at this from this standpoint, you just want to say, okay, what do I need to watch here? You kind of need to watch if that 2-hour rolls over. But for the most part, a daily, if that daily rolls down, that's where you'd be a little worried. So you want to look for weakness in that. So on a 30-minute, if you start to see bigger divergences form, this could in some way, maybe a 4-hour would help you keep it tighter, but the 4-hour turning down here would not be good for gold. Gap to fill at 582.36. I'm guessing we're talking about the SPY, aren't we? Not this low. The close 582.26 is what I have. Maybe our charts are a little different. And yeah, that gap fill, what's right below it too? The weekly or the daily expected move for the day. So once again, I do not think, I actually think we have the opportunity for one more move higher just because volatility is not showing the same reversal signal at the low here that the SPY is. Now, the good thing about volatility is this wasn't some lackluster thing like this. It actually did go up into positive territory. That's interesting to me. Yes, if Nvidia does curl down on a 30-minute, this could be a major top. You want to pay attention for weakness in Nvidia. We've used Nvidia a lot to help us out. So let's really look at this too. Okay, so just so you're aware, Nvidia, where we've paid attention to it the past few months is it's made some big moves every single month outside of monthly expected moves. Where are we right now? We are outside of the monthly expected move, forming a 30-minute divergence. So this 30-minute divergence can mean a lot, okay? This 30-minute divergence can mean something. I believe the 2-hour was trying to curl up, right? It's trying to curl up. That rejects, turns right back down. It's still a sign of weakness. So at this point, literally at this point, you have almost, you actually have, you know, these signals were good. This signal is better for a downside play. I'm just going to be honest. That's what it looks like to me. Because here you notice nothing really on the 2-hour. Just a, you know, you could say maybe divergence on the RSI or something like that slightly. Here was a great play. So right here looks very similar, at least the amount I can read into the signals. It looks like this. Well, what did we do here? We went outside of a monthly expected move. We made those reversal signals and we went up. What do we do here? Well, we went outside of a monthly expected move. We've made reversal signals. What's going to happen next? And that's why managing trades is good, right? Something unexpected can happen. The 30-minute is curled up, the 2-hour is curled up. But if both of those things start to curl back down, then we have almost the exact same signals as down here, or at least the exact same probabilities, I would say, of a big move, just in the opposite direction. Now, will that big move hold up and curl back up? That's what we have to see. We're heading into the end of the month. This happened at the beginning of the month. This happened at the beginning of the month. This is happening towards the middle. So you can buy that time, get towards October or get towards November, and then start to cross back up into positive territory, right? We're still overall, I think, holding this channel pretty well. So Yeah, just being honest, that's what it looks like to me. And you got to see things confirm, right? You don't want to be caught up in something if it starts to squeeze. So you have to see these things confirm. But once this 30-minute does curl down, or if it curls down is the better way to say it, if it can curl down, then you would say that would be the first domino that could maybe tip over the bigger dominoes. Does that make sense? Everyone getting that? Doesn't that make sense? Right, Pablo? You know what I'm saying? Probably gap fill reversal is something to pay attention to today, right? Look at that. Fills the gap, goes down, daily expected move right there as well. We'll see if this thing can turn back up. I still think we need to make the reversal signal on volatility, the reversal signal on the SPY at the same time. Yikes, Doug. And yeah, Jackal, that's why you want to pay attention to, you know, how is this really making people think? Everything starts to turn down, and you go, okay, well, where are we? We're still within those daily expected moves. You're not experiencing something crazy. This is expected by the options market. Are people flying to puts yet? Not necessarily, so maybe they want to go a little bit deeper. But you do have that moment earlier where people were on the call side, the dollar is going higher. Did anyone catch this? The dollar is going higher. And I think we're just continuing to build a massive trap. I think that's what's happening here, and it could fall at any time. And one of the stocks that has helped us with a lot of traps is Nvidia. So I think it's very good to watch this. Very good to watch this. And if Meta doesn't confirm a divergence here, then this is going to be one that's good to watch. But if Meta can turn up, this is an actual opportunity, I think, in the market for an upside play, right? So we have an upside play opportunity right here to take back the 5 and maybe move higher over the next few days. But we also know, hey, if that's already piling on, if Nvidia starts to drop even further here, we're gonna be a little sketchy. Gold is looking a little bit toppy, just so everyone's clear. Now that can move like crazy, but gold looking just a little bit toppy here. Once you pull up the daily or the 2-hour signals, you're starting to see, okay, this is kind of elongated, right? But you can see it's across the way. We do have we're holding that divergence point. We could make a divergence in the near price action though, right? We kind of had to make one right here, right, to get this. So maybe we have to go like this to see that, right? We can still buy time. Additional selling pressure. Well, we can go look at Nail. For what you want to see is the 2 hours crossing down. So right away, that's just the first 2-hour cross down. You're losing the 5-day moving average, right? That's why I have this up. I'm playing with it, but the 5 is very important for these moves. We've been riding the 5 a lot lately. But the daily is going to be the big one. Look at that. Okay, Jonathan, do you see this? If the daily could cross here, yeah, we can see a little reactions, but if that daily remains crossed, you're confirming a double top. Right? Once you start to cut below these levels, if you can continue that selling, you're really confirming a double top here for something like Nail. Now, because Nail behaves a little funky because it's a 3 times leverage, I still like to look at HGX. You're going to see the same type of thing. Just notice that we didn't go up as high because that is 3 times leverage. So it's good to pay attention to this. And if this just goes bloop, oh, that means that most likely we are going to experience a pullback. But since we have reversal signals here and it's closer to the center line, starting to add up probabilities here for this being some kind of situation that can get bad. And maybe we see a reaction down to 721. So that means Nail can drop pretty significantly if that daily does cross. It can take a lot of time to get down here, right? It took a lot of time to get up here, so it can take a lot of time to get down here. And then if that can give us a reversal signal, we'll pay attention. But for the most part, that is major weakness there. So this tells you that today could be the top of the market. That's what it tells you. Tells you today could be the day, right? We've confirmed all the signals. Until we turn those back up, we can't really be bullish or say there's upside potential. But right away when that does turn up, all right, test the high, go make a new one. We have a daily expected move for that. Yeah, Jonathan, and it's great, guys. This is something we say in the videos a lot these days, because I think a lot of people just click on the video, watch a couple of stocks that they may pay attention to, and then hop off. Make sure you're at least paying attention to SPY, Qs. I would say SPY, Qs, Nvidia, and then I would pay attention to the stock that you're paying attention to. If there's one that you pay attention, maybe it's Apple or something like that. But I would say SPY, Qs, Nvidia, if you can skip around to at least see those, and volatility. Okay, volatility and the dollar are going to be huge. Volatility is always good to pay attention to, especially if you see those signals at the same time. The only reason I'm hesitant right now to say, oh yeah, this is for sure, or this is going to be the top, or this is the highest probable top, right? This is definitely probable for this to be a top. We just don't have the reversal signals from volatility at the same time as the Qs. So that's leading me to believe we could buy a little bit more time, right? This could be some kind of, like Pomeranian was bringing up, this could be some kind of gap fill down by a daily expected move to then get people trapped and then turn up. So it means I can still make a decision, right? I can still say, hey, right here, I'm going short, right? I can still say that because it's confirming the divergence. I just have to know, hey, if that 15-minute curls up for a moment, I might be wrong. If it curls back down, I reapply the position and bad stuff happens. Awesome. All right, that's what we talk about in the course, right? The using technical indicators, the technical analysis course down there, 90% off down in the description, but it's just, it is a game of cat and mouse. It's a game of when's the timing, if you're trying to time it right on a 30-minute. The much simpler thing to do, right? The much simpler thing to do is maybe look at the housing sector, go like this, put it on a daily and say, hey, when that crosses, it means bad things. So maybe that's when I go short for something. And I look for that position at that point. Volatility ticker is VIX. And then if you're looking for something to trade, I like UVXY. People use UVIX. Oh, and Jonathan, thank you so much for the $4. Hell yeah. Thank you. I'll use that for some coffee. You know what I'm saying? Ready? I'm ready for those 1000% gains on the options. Hell yeah. Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Really appreciate that. Now I can go to the farmer's market on the weekend, maybe. You think Nvidia will come down today? I'd say if the 30-minute crosses, it's got a very good shot. Has that happened yet? No. Right, 30-minute crosses, you got a good shot. If you get some news, that can be a little deeper. But if this 30-minute crosses, I think we get a pullback. Well, I'd wait for, I like confirmations, Hussein. So I like confirmations before I take something, and I can use the shorter time frame. I know that there's possibly a double top signal here, but I can use the short time frame to maybe find a little bit better position if I know how to manage the trade, and that's going to be a big thing, right? In order to do the shorter time frames, you really have to understand how to manage a trade. If you don't, then you can just say, hey, I can use the reversal signals to say, if I just like to buy stocks for them to go up, maybe I don't like shorting, because shorting is more difficult because the market mostly goes up. You could just say, okay, I'm going to use this type of behavior. I'm going to use these divergences as points to invest, points to sell those investments, right? Points to hold for a month, points to sell, points to hold, points to sell, right? It's like on the daily, all right? On the daily, the point to buy. Well, you could say this is a swing trade to the upside. All right, awesome. Hold that for, what was that, only like 2 weeks? Then you see 2-hour signals in here and you go, okay, point to sell. Then that heads down. Then you see that curl back up. We saw those divergences down there. You go point to buy. Now you're up here and you're going, okay, this looks like possibly a double top. We have divergence in here. So just like right here, maybe it's a point to say, hey, maybe I don't want to invest in this for the next few weeks. I want to see how this plays out for a little bit. That's how you can treat it, and you'll do it that's like the very slow way, and the slow way will still work. It'll just be a little slower, but the slow way is a lot safer too. Slow, slow, slow. I sell real estate and have been a broker for 10 years. Real estate is 100% in a tricky spot. Buyers are not really present, and our supply is increasing like crazy. Well, I think you're in a tough spot where supply in certain parts of the country have decreased while the supply of people selling their home, right? People choosing to sell their home, not getting it ripped away by a storm or something, Texas, you're seeing a huge influx of supply in Texas. Big influx. While Florida was experiencing the big supply and sellers coming in, and then the hurricane hit, and that supply might have been wiped out. So you're in a weird spot. You are. And I think that'll continue. My brother's an MLO, metal to gold. So I talk to him about rates pretty often. I told him about how the behavior of people trying to get rates is similar to the behavior of people taking profit in the stock market. It's very similar. We tell this all the time. We say this all the time too. Things that you see in the stock market are definitely relatable to real life, right? Patterns and things like that are relatable to real life, right? So if we're seeing this type of behavior, then we should be aware that something bad could happen, maybe overseas with World War III, maybe in the country with the housing market, right? The housing market's showing a major signal. So you're going, uh-oh, are we about to experience a housing crash that just hasn't been announced yet, right? You have to be aware of that because this is in a bubble at this point. So it's very cool because you can relate it to the market. You can relate it to real life. And the patterns that you can see with real estate and people trying to get rates is when you take a trade, and maybe you've done this, we've all done it. You take a trade, you make a good chunk of money. You go, ooh, that's a good chunk of money. It could go higher. It could go higher. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to sell it on like an option play. And then it reverses back down and everything's screwed. People are like that with rates. People, we dealt with, well, I heard a story, I'll say it that way. I heard a story about a person who really wanted a better rate. They were comfortable with the rate they were getting now, but they wanted a better rate, but they were like, hey, I need this house, let me do this. Then 2 days later, they hadn't locked in that rate yet. 2 days later, the yields actually dropped dramatically, saving them, I think, like $10,000, or it was like $35,000 in the lifetime of the loan in interest payments. And then they said, oh, but it's coming down. It could get better than that, right? It could get better. So do you see the mentality there? The person was comfortable with this terrible amount of interest, and then they got a way better one, and then they still said it could go lower. Instead of saying, hey, I was comfortable with this, now I'm even definitely more comfortable with this. You know what I'm saying? And then they actually reacted back up about 2 weeks later while they were waiting. And it caused them not to be able to get it. And I think they ended up getting the original rate that they were comfortable with. And it's like, why not, if you're comfortable with something, if you know that that's the good thing, and then you get a better thing, it's like, why wouldn't you take it at that point and just refi, in my opinion? But it's very similar to how people take profit in the market. That's why we encourage, if you have any type of feeling towards a play, you like to take profit. I like to take profit early. Wahid, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Let's go check over on the SPY. We're curling down. We're in that area of the gap fill, right? We're in that area. We're towards that daily expected move. What's going to happen with this bad boy as the housing sector just starts to collapse, really? 2% down already. Nail cannot be liking that. 7% down. Set and forget. Yeah, I don't like targets. I like the mentality of, ooh, do I like that amount of money for my portfolio? Yes. How do I feel about the trade? Is it making me nervous? Yes. Okay, those are all, like, I come up with multiple things to really be like, ooh, convince myself to get out. Yeah, Nvidia still not able to cross over just yet. Being patient is a good thing, right? Volatility, though, did not turn down on this 30 minutes, trying to reject. I think it all depends. Will the SPY be able to hold above a daily expected move? Is this just sideways movement to head higher, or is this going to be some little 5-minute cup and handle, right? Because the 5 minutes got to be negative here, right? Got to be negative. So is this just reacting to a level to, right? We can look at patterns on multiple time frames. Is this some kind of Are we getting some kind of cup with a handle and then going to flash down? We'll see. Housing sector is suggesting, yes, we're going to see this head to lower prices. This has a high probability of being a top right now, the way it looks. The minute I actually start sweating, I get out. Yeah, sometimes you take trades and maybe like a random gap happens and you go, oh shoot, I guess I just hold on to this thing, right? It's happened to everyone. These type of things have at least if you've traded a bunch, you've had moments like that. And then you go, okay, this gap down, I kind of have to hold on to it because maybe I can't sell it to anyone. Maybe I've lost too much to where managing the trade doesn't come into consideration. You hold on to it. Then it goes back to break even and you just go, whew, and you get out. You know what I mean? So, Robert, the zone in between those lines is 68% chance to land there. 32% chance to see something crazy, right? So you would say anytime you're outside of a range, you have a 68% chance to land back in that zone. Now you have to take things into consideration. Did the company just have earnings, right? Earnings or any kind of big news can take the market off guard, and that kind of says, okay, if I'm not seeing reversal signals, that's the big thing. The big thing for me, and what we go over a lot in the course, is do you see reversal signals outside of the move? Right now, for Nvidia, you see reversal signals outside of a monthly move. Is it outside of a weekly move? No. But it's outside of a monthly. And the last time that this happened, it happened early on in the month, right? So that's why we could pay really good attention to it. We're like, that means, hey, this has a great probability to head up. Now, this is happening kind of towards the middle-ish end of the month. So if this curled down now, pulled back, and then curled up, it could do all of that and remain inside of Nvidia's expected moves. It depends. So if I'm doing say it has the golden setup, Blizzard. The golden setup, a lot of the time, I will scale into that on the shortest time frame, and then pay attention if all the things are confirming. And once we hit to where I can break even in the trade by selling a contract or two, I'll do that, right? But if things start to hit like a monthly expected move early on in the month, then I'll take all of it out. You know what I mean? But I don't necessarily want to take myself out of the major signal, which is going to be the biggest time frame. So yes, I will have opportunities where you've seen me maybe mention, hey, I'm scaling out of this play here. We're hitting a weekly expected move. I'm going to let the rest ride. That's kind of how I say it. I say I'm going to let the rest ride. Because at that point, I've taken my risk out. I'm playing with their money. And even if that goes down a little bit, I can get out of that and still make money off the play. But I don't want to get out of something that's... It's kind of like this. If I have a 30-minute signal here, and say by the end of the week, a daily signal confirms way down here, and if I have shorts up in this area or something like that, this is all rhetorical, whatever you want to say. This is all made up. I can't think of the word right now. I'm blanking. But for the most part, we just want to say, if that is doing this, then I'll most likely take some profit because I know if that does that during the week, it has a high likelihood to bounce. Then if that bounce would fall, I can reapply that position again, right? I don't have to sell the entire position because what if this just goes like this and then falls through the floor, confirming those big, big signals? Well, if it confirmed that signal and then it falls through the floor, then I want to be in that, but I want to take my risk out of it a little bit. Does that make sense? If we hit a weekly expected move to the downside with the small signals, okay, awesome. I'm going to take some profit, but leave some in case that sees something crazy. But the most likely thing to do if that happens early on in the week is to bounce. So then I can take my risk out of that bounce, get back into that position with the money I just made here. It's a very, very cool way to think about it. And it's all decision based too, right? It's kind of in the moment decision based. Nvidia back to 137 by the end of the day. I think Nvidia's got a good chance to go down to, let's just look at this gap right here. This gap down here towards, what is that, the close at 135.74. I think you got a good opportunity. If that 30-minute can cross, I think you get there. And then from there, it's kind of like, what happens next? Did we get the bad news? Because if we didn't get bad news, that could just be 2-hour pulling back, and I got to pay attention if this thing's going to roll up one more time. AMD gave it up, turned back down. So this signal was not something to pay attention to, which is what I kind of was leaning toward. I was like, this looks very fishy to me. It does not look the best for a trade setup. This is starting to cross through a daily expected move. So now, are you going to continue to experience something crazy? You're experiencing something crazy here. Volatility is turning up. All right, SPY is turning down. So no reversal signal from volatility, but it's popping. So if we're going to see this continue down, well, that 2 hours really rejecting down. What is the signal to pay attention to here on a bigger time frame that I can watch to see if bigger momentum is turning down? Well, it's going to be the 4 hour. We're losing the 5. We're getting the divergences. The 4 hour turns down. Hey, you got 2.5 hours. If this holds for 2.5 hours, it doesn't have to. You're outside of a daily. You can do that. But if this holds for 2.5 hours, it would say, hey, most likely over the next few days, maybe even going into next week, we will be at lower prices. A reaction down to this weekly expected move would make total sense for the week if this 4 hour could confirm down today, and then later on we go like this. Very, very good. Like it. For futures, a lot of the time, I just use these guys right here. You can just look at a 2 hour, sorry, wait, 2 hour, 2 hour, 2. It's 2 hour, right? 2 hour did cross down, was trying to cross back up, didn't work out. 2 hours kind of like your 30-minute. The reason we're bringing up that is because on the Qs, the 30-minute was what we were mainly paying attention to. 2 hour confirming back down here for the Qs, 30-minute confirming down here for the Qs. Not outside of a daily. So something we have to pay attention to here is, well, this is something interesting, but are we just filling this gap? Are the Qs going to react down to here? So the next support I would pay attention to for the SPY is going to be when the Qs hit 490.93. If the Qs hit 490.93, you can go look at the SPY, and we might be able to hold up a little bit better here. We'll see. That's the thing we're paying attention to. But right now, this has a very high likelihood of calling a top because that 4 hours rotating down. So I'm going to go check over and see if we can find any kind of news. I know that my volatility is starting to enjoy this a bit. All right, let me go look for if anything's happening out there. News. Okay, nothing there. Let's look somewhere else. Oh my gosh, my hiccups. Whoa, today flew by, guys. Holy crap, I'm already past when I was supposed to get off. We'll hang out for a little bit. I have a little bit extra time, so I can hang out just a little bit longer. Why is Assange on here? Nothing really important there. Huh, can't really find, maybe if someone can find the news for me, if anyone sees it on one of the platforms they trust. I've looked on a couple of news sites that I was looking for something, why this would maybe be happening. But for the most part, we just like technicals. So technicals said, hey, that's bad. Nvidia, we'll see if this is able to curl over. This is still important. Nvidia still holding is very important. This still has to curl down before I'm convinced, because the Qs can just react down to a daily expected move or something. But you are curling down on a 2 hour as of right now. 18 minutes left in that. That's not a good sign. That is really not a good sign. Housing still dropping at this moment. Volatility turned up on a 2 hour. 4 hour, a little bit closer to the center line, see if that thing can turn up. But look where we reacted to. Remember, this is why I said I'm not convinced we're going to get a big short squeeze until we lose the 50. And then I think we could see a mini squeeze to the 200. If we lose the 200, then you're getting a full-on squeeze. So for now, we reacted to the 50, cross back up. This is why it's important to make sure you watch the whole video. I know we go over volatility at the end, but it is very important. Even if you're someone who maybe you don't have a ton of time, add it in, take the extra couple of minutes just to watch volatility for a second, because I did say if this crosses down, we can short squeeze. But right after that, I said if this crosses down and we can short squeeze, but I want to get below the 50 because of how this developed, right? We said if this crosses down, right up here, we started saying if this crosses down, we can short squeeze. But right around here, we started to say, yes, this is crossing down, but have we lost the 50? No, we haven't. So good stuff, good rejection. We'll see if that can turn back down. Dow not liking life, SPY not liking life. Let's see, the Qs fill in the gap, trying to head back up. Did it fill that gap? I don't know if it filled that gap. The low, 491.46, 491.36. So just barely didn't fill it. So close. Oops. So freaking close. TLT is not liking things right now. Obviously, info was leaked. I need to pay attention to earnings and stuff like that too. Hopefully, Nvidia pulls back to 137. You have a good likelihood if this were to cross down, that's going down to 135. And you can see, I mean, if we see any kind of, you don't really have 5-minute weakness in this or anything really, really small to give you a hint yet. So it could make another 5-minute move up or something. Apple's going to be a big one. This is able to hold up. That's not a terrible sign. I was really worried about an island reversal in some way. Bitcoin continuing to drop. Palantir failing the next move up maybe. Watch out if the 30-minute crosses down. No reason for positivity if that happens. Even though the 2-hour is trying to cross up, you notice that is failing now. That can be a lower high on the 30-minute. So maybe we're not going to make the next move higher for something like Palantir. Meanwhile, IWM just curling over big stuff, all right? You're about to curl over a 4-hour. SPY, you're trying to curl over a 4-hour right now. 2 hours left in that. Qs, you're already curled down. Amazon would be interesting for the 4-hour as well. 2-hour here, you can see how there's divergence here in the near price action. So 2-hour curls down for Amazon, not a good look either. So you really got to hold up like right now. You got to hold up in the next couple of hours. There you go, you're doing it. You're trying to. It's got good selling direction though. You said IWM about to curl up? No. I said watch for the 4-hour to curl down. That's when you know, like, hey, the 4-hour is taking over. See the divergence? Divergence. So I would just say this, the 30-minute curls up, but this is actual selling. This is not controlled at this point. If anything, it's just dropping, right? This is the pathway you want, and then you want those little ledges, right? A little ledge here, drop again, a little ledge here, drop again. But looks like weekly expected move. We're pretty close to it. I might accidentally misspoke. My bad, Robert. 6% up now, trying to curl back down. We still got to pay attention if it curls back down. I don't know why. I have a weird feeling this just continues for a little bit longer, even though the dollar's popping off. I like the reversal signal. I think it's great. I'm going to take it, right, with both hands. But if it curls up, I'm just going to be like, all right, let me just manage because my timing's off again. Let me look for the next signal. I don't really want to be taking anything to the upside yet unless it's on something that's been beat up. So weekly expected Monday. Okay, Robert, hopefully we cleared that up for you a little bit. Yeah, so mainly Robert, by the way, it would be like if I get a daily cross up and the next day takes me through, I still want to pay attention to the fact that the higher percentage, if we were to get out of these moves, is to come back into them, right? 68%. But that's why a lot of the time I like to see a reversal signal in some way outside of those expected moves because that'll give me a bigger hint. That'll give me an actual trade setup, right? Most likely if something's moving outside of its weekly move, I'm not just taking a trade, right? I'm not getting bullish. I'm not really getting bearish. I'm just like, all right, well, this has a higher probability to cross back down, to curl down. But if I don't see reversal signals, then I'm not going to make any decisions with my money, right? I want to take high probability plays, which one of those is still Nvidia at this moment. If this can cross down, that is a high probable move to head down. But it's Nvidia, guys. How many times have we said, oh man, watch out, Nvidia can be a scary one to try to short. Even when it's in crazy areas, it can be a hard one to short. Calls, we're like, yeah, sick, calls, right? We're like, yeah, fuck, let's do this. Puts, a little bit harder, right? You notice we act really weird at highs. Lows, we just make a little divergence and start to go up. Lows, we just make a little divergence, start to go up. At the highs, we're like, well, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Break. At the highs, you're like, make one here, make one here, make one here. You make like 3 sets of 30-minute divergences. What would need to happen to close the trade? Well, if it's a day trade, then you're already at the crazy level. If it's early on in the week, we see a move like this, and it has structure, I would say, then that's when I would make a decision, right? Once you approach these. But this could just be the first tip, right? This could be the first move. The 4 hour is just crossing, so you got to see if that posts. What I would say this is this too. It's just a simple thing. If a 15-minute curls up, I can manage. Then if that curls right back down, I'm back in the play. And you'll see that on your MACD a lot of the time, right? You'll see these moments where you just have to manage for a little bit. It's deeper into negative territory, so you are likely to make a lower high. But for the most part, I think important to get down to this level, right? This is the level you really want to get to. So we'll see if that's able to happen. But for the most part, if this did curl up on a 15, you might be right here when that happens, if that does curl up. So that would mean, hey, that's going to go the other direction for a second. Even if that's short-lived, I can manage, have the better timing, and then, boom, maybe something really bad happens. But something really bad is happening right in front of you right now. Got out of my short for the SPY 100% gain. Congratulations, Kalani. Good job. Yeah, man, Fred. It's kind of like Kalani today. We know that this is not a good sign, and this could be the tip of the iceberg, and things start to confirm down, on bigger time frames. But Kalani's going, hey, I made the profit that I wanted to, and that's it, right? Make a decision. That's all you're trying to do in the market. You're not trying to catch crashes and make $1 million. You're just trying to make sure that the trade you are taking right now ends up being a profitable one. All right, guys, I did go a little bit longer than I was supposed to, but I do really appreciate you guys being here today. I got to let old man out. I got some chores to do around the house, and then I have to get to work. So thank you guys for joining today. I really do appreciate it. If you guys want to learn anything that we're talking about here, if you want to just make things more clear, because even if you've been here a while, it's good to take the courses because it'll really clear things up. It kind of changes how you can watch these type of videos with us and changes probably how you understand what I'm saying. So thank you guys so much for being here today. Grab those courses while they're on sale, 90% off all the way through November. So pay attention to that. Going to be key as we're seeing some reversal signals here from the SPY. One of the things I'd really be watching is, does Nvidia produce a reversal signal here? And does it keep reversing, right? Is it curling up? Because if it's curling up in positive territory, positivity can happen. So that's something to be aware of. Nvidia is the most important stock in the stock market as well as Apple right now. So these are the two stocks that you really need to turn down. If they do not turn down, we can hold the market up. So thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Burton, thank you for saying that, and welcome. And I appreciate you watching for a few weeks. I hope that it continues to be helpful for you. I genuinely do. So thank you guys so much for joining. I think I've said it like 8 times, but I can't thank you guys enough. You guys are awesome. Liking, subscribing. Jonathan, I think you donated today, so thank you so much for that. But I just appreciate you guys watching with me every day. It does make trading a lot more fun for me, and my family appreciates it too, because I like being here at the house. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys. Have a good day. Peace out.